We're late for the briefing.
They're very late for the briefing. Like it's always late.
We might be able to do that, but let's get Sam. Right.
We are late.
We're ready. All right.
Fixes up today. Oh, good stuff.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko tākaro ko Opawaho ko Puraki ki nui o Mata Awa, ko Ihutai te Moana, ko Waitai te Hapori, ki ngā paenga o tātou e mahi nei, ko Mātuku Ingoa, ko au te marakura o tēnā koari. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
And if you'd like to join us for opening karakia, the word will be up on the screen. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to the Waitai Coastal-Burwood-Linwood Community Board meeting. I'm the chairperson for the command. First off, we have one apology for lateness and one apology for lateness for this and for leaving early potentially from Greg. Any other apologies? No? Jackie, you happy to move those?
Yes, thanks.
Seconded by Joe. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Any declarations of interest to make? No declarations of interest. So now moving to confirmation of previous minutes. There is one amendment that's required, which was just a slight error in drafting, and that's you'll see that up on the screen there.
Just bear with me for 1 second. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, so it doesn't change at all the intent of the resolution. It was just a slight error from the report writer. Are there any other changes, omissions? Nothing? All right, we'll just wait for that to be on the screen.
Just bear with me. I'm just going to freeze the screen for 1 second.
Right. Right. In the meantime, this is our last meeting for the year. Our first full calendar year as a board. So, yeah, thank you everybody for the way that we've all participated and worked together. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Been good. And we've got a good chair.
So, okay.
What was that count?
Nothing.
You can talk louder if you like.
Okay.
Spread the
It doesn't want it recorded.
Yeah.
I'll note down words. All right. Well, I'm happy to move that. We have a second. Seconded by Greg. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. All right. Thank you. So next we have public forum. So public forum is 5 minutes, including questions. People can come and talk about an item that's not on the agenda. So that means if anybody who's presenting for the public forum, which is distinct from deputations, which is about items. Deputation is about items that are on the agenda. So deputations, you get 10 minutes, including questions. So for public forum, 5 minutes, including questions. So if you want us to ask questions, you need to give us a bit of time at the end. So our first public forum participant is Drusilla Kenny-Benson. Welcome, Drusilla. You're welcome to join us at the end of the table.
Yeah.
Yes. Either of the seats is fine.
Okay.
You can use either seat.
That's fine.
You don't have to use the name. It's at least name.
Kia ora, I only bought 3.
That's all right. We can share.
Thank you. Don't belong. I'm actually drama. I did the Commonwealth Games in 1974 and I did repertory and opera. I work in construction. But I've been setting up film for the last 20 years. but we've had earthquakes and losing people right through it. So that's where I'm at and looking at locations. Things changed in the last week from when I was going to come and see you last time. I now have actually found a theatre. They've built a YMCA, which is the Kindness Foundation, right in the middle of the Rolleston Ave. 226, I'm going in the Arts Centre to do Santa's Lost Key, which I've been working on for 8 years. But I've always kind of thing with Brighton, and I've always come down and had a look at the red zone. I'm also part of the team who set up Rodeo, and I was part of that team for 10 years. So I do know, and I will be following. I have a lot to do with Robbie. He comes into work and I'm in his ear asking about, his project, and I've been keeping an eye. But the thing is, with the wind has always been the big issue, because I did look at putting theatre on the beach and it just wouldn't work. But the reason why I've come today is my niece wrote this book, and I finally found it. I've been looking for it for a whole year in my house, and it's about a tanapa. Now, it's not in print. You can't get it in print. She was 21 or 22 when she wrote it. And I think this would be a great thing for Brighton. I did go over and have a look at the hall over at the Kuritu, the back of the Kuritu site. It used to do pontoons, is it where they throw the French balls or whatever? The downside with that is because I don't live here, you've got to go and get the key. It's quite a rigmarole. So that will just sit in the pipeline. But today I just want to try and get the rights for this. We're in the process of actually legally doing our trust deed. It's like I've done everything backwards. I've spent the last 14 years getting all the props, all the wardrobe, everything, checking out locations all over Christchurch. And but I would love to pursue with this. So today is really just to let you know that if it's not this play, it'll be something else. But I really want to see something like this. But even so, to get something like this might take 4 years. We're talking about making all the costumes, everything. And it might be we might look at the Roy Stokes Hall. It's a bit too early, but I just thought I'd come on now that I've actually made up my mind. I actually worked full-time in traffic management during the third tower at Christchurch Public. There's still another 2 years of work on that, and I've got 3 or 4 other plays we're looking at. So this will be, but it's a matter of getting a group organised, 1 or 2 people, having regular meetings, set up a plan, and see if we can actually get the rights for this. And then do some creative workshops, and there'll be other stuff that will come out. But I just thought I'd let you come today and let you know that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm going to pursue. All right?
Very good.
Thank you for your work and your enthusiasm, Priscilla.
Yeah, well, I just love drama. Drama's the name.
So do you want that?
No, that's for you guys. Fine.
All right. So thank you very much. All right. So now we have Nushka.
Unfortunately, she's not.
Okay, we can come back to her. And so next, unfortunately, the next person was unable to attend unforeseen reasons. So David Keynes, are you here, Dave?
He hasn't.
David, okay, we may have to, maybe able to come back. So we'll move on to deputations by appointment. We have Nigel McDougall here to talk about item 8 streets for people. If you'd like to join us at the table, Nigel? So as you would have heard before, it's 10 minutes including questions.
Yep.
Welcome, thank you very much for coming to the board.
Thank you. This is very new to me. I've never done anything like this before. So this is about the proposed cycleways that are being proposed for Breezes Road. Right, starting at the top. Questions people have asked. Has unbiased cycle count of full cycle users been done? And why is the cycle lanes swapping sides of the road? how many vehicular accidents and damages have been caused by the introduction of the raised concrete curbing in Christchurch from its inception? That's the raised concrete cycle lane dividers. How many cyclists have been injured by the new style of curbing in Christchurch since its introduction? And how many injury cycle accidents have there been in the last 10 years in the proposed new cycle lane area? And one thing that the locals have also mentioned is that some of the locals would like a right turning arrows at Wainoni Road, Breezes Road intersection, and the metal covers in the roads at the same level of the road surface, and have the heavy trucks use the ring road. I've done an observation and surveyed the number of hiatus student cyclists that would have possibly benefited from a cycle lane on Breezes Road on the 5th of the 12th, and this was in the morning at 8:20 till 9. There were 2 cyclists. There were 8 cyclists came out of Hampshire Street and used the existing crossing. The proposed lanes would not have benefited them. I was on the site before the crossing officers and left after they had gone. I've witnessed cyclists on Linwood Ave still riding on the road when the city's provided cycleway through the middle of the trees at great cost to the people of Christchurch. And the same will happen on Breezes Road. The cyclists won't cross the road back and forward to stay in the designated cycle lane. Avondale Primary has closed, Aranui Primary is closed. And what is the long-term plan for Chisnwood Intermediate? There's been talk of the school closing in the medium term. I've been told that the roll for next year has been reduced by 25%, 100 students, thus even less students requiring cycleways. Where will the school buses and the parents park when picking up and dropping children off from Chisnwood, with the ever more reduced number of parking spaces? And why is a pedestrian crossing going in at 276 Breezes Road when there's light controlled crossings about 5 properties further down at Pages Road and a crossing at the rear of the hiatus school? This is a moderate to heavy volume vehicular traffic road, and putting more crossings in is introducing more hazards. There are many multi-dwelling properties in Breezes Road, and often not enough off-street parking available due to the high density housing the council has implemented. Therefore, the street parking is well utilised, especially now with the advent of the new corrections centre and the staff client parking pressure. Today, I counted 31 vehicles parked on both sides of the road, using every park back to about 266 Breezes Road. Virtually all of these cars are either corrections or medical centre staff. Where you're planning to have these people parked through the day. I have a long caravan and I tow it with a large vehicle. It's over 40 feet long. I have to use the full width of the road to exit and enter Breezes Road from my property. How's the council going to accommodate my individual needs and the needs of others in similar situations to myself? I know others in the street tow large car transporters, caravans, boats, and some have camper vans as well. I often stop on the side of Breezes Road and reverse into my property, often with a trailer or a tandem caravan. To do this will be hazardous, as there won't be any area to pull over into to allow any following traffic to pass, thus removing the ability to enter my own residence of 34 years. We purchased out in the suburbs, so we didn't have all the inconveniences of the city. There are a significant number of over 60s units that only have off-street parking for residents. When they have elderly visitors, they will not be able to park within a reasonable distance of their friends. They will stop visiting. This will isolate the elderly. A lot of the elderly, of which there are many, have significant personal needs. Some of them are nurse ward, missed days, Meals on Wheels, prescription deliveries, and ambulance parking.
You're about halfway through, Nigel.
Yeah. There are also questions around the curbside waste collection. My neighbours, whom are mobility impaired, are worried about crossing the road, mounting the gutter on the opposite side of the road to put their bins out, where they can be reached for emptying. I've spoken to a real estate agent about the impact of curb cycleways on the sale of houses. He has concerns about prospective buyers having limited parking spaces for viewing, and the lack of parking and the narrowing of the road could be off-putting. I've spoken with associates that own multiple properties, and their perception of purchasing property that has proposed curbed cycleways that they would not buy unless the price was significantly cheaper than comparable properties without cycleways as proposed. Upon calling on residents, it appears that the vast majority of people I've surveyed had no idea what was happening in the street that they live on. Very few residents received the latest flyer on November 25th. They have no idea how to express their opposition to the proposals. A lot of them are still living with the memory and trauma of the lockdowns, loss of employment, and are sitting at home frustrating with the thought of what may be ahead. I've been overwhelmed with the support from going door to door from those directly affected. Some have wanted to do something about it, and we're more than pleased that I'd taken the initiative by doing a personal survey. I felt very humbled by the community support of my endeavour. The system of the leaflet drop does not work. Many never receive the first correspondence. Most haven't digested the significance of the latest one, and it gets caught up with many of the Christmas glossy advertising from big stores and binned without a thought. The council should be going door to door, doing door to door visits to enlighten them and also get the feeling of the community. I have called on mainly those who will have the cycleway directly in front of their homes. Of the 80 odd homes I've visited, only 2 were in favour of the latest proposal. I've done a personal survey of about 80 people who will have these barriers outside of their home. Of these, the 2 people thought it was a good idea, 4 people wanted to research it, and they were unaware of the proposal. The rest were vehemently against the idea in any form due to personal reasons. I've not been able to gather more feedback as yet, but hoping to call on others this weekend. I've been on the council website. I can't find any link to the proposed cycleway, apart from one 2-line sentence. The council should invite all affected people on Breezes Road to a midweek evening meeting in the local hall of church to have an open discussion rather than the dysfunctional way that this is running. I've been advised that the submissions had closed before November the 6th. I understand the designs that were on the table for submission have been dismissed, and yet a 4th incarnation has been presented, and the process is in full swing and being pushed by the council against public opinion. The information has been circulated in limited amounts as the information that has been circulated in limited amounts is incomplete, and we cannot see the full layout in the graphics supplied, and the council are calling for an informed consent. And that's about it, really. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Nigel. I'm going to allow a couple more minutes for questions, just to get to draw out any additional information. So, and members, if we can keep it sort of to specific issues about the specific cycleway rather than cycleways in general, just to make it helpful. First of all, the other members go. If anybody has any specific questions, I just wanted to clarify. You're aware that this is not a proposed cycleway, but a trial. So rather than it being proposed to be a permanent cycleway, it's a trial to see whether a cycleway would work here. So would it be for a limited time? Were you aware of that?
I had it rumoured, but I haven't actually seen it in print.
Yeah, so it's definitely a trial.
Yeah.
Which would mean I can't remember off the top of my head about when how long it would go for, but start when they when they come to give their report, we'll clarify that. So it's not like, say, the one on Linwood Ave, which you mentioned, which is a permanent one.
Yeah.
There's a specific pool of money which has been provided so that in instances where it's not clear whether a cycleway will be beneficial, we could see whether that might work. Does that make you feel less uneasy? Yeah, it's a 3-month trial.
Yeah, not really, because the general consensus is from the people that they don't want any cycleway inhibiting their ability to move around their neighbourhood. And they see it as another barrier, as I've mentioned here, for visitors and also their own ability to move around.
Move around in a car.
Yeah, well, when you're towing long vehicles and stuff like that, trying to negotiate that is a bit of a challenge, because I know outside my place I just have to stop mid-lane and then just force all the traffic to stop and then try and back up through them to get into my property. They prefer you to back into your property if you can't turn around. I think that's what the law is.
Yeah, well, if you must be pretty good at reversing a trailer by now.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
All right, Tim, I think you've got a question.
Yeah, thanks, Nigel. The question I have is the whole of the plan, so from Avondale Road to Wainoni Road, do you or any of the people you spoke to have anything against that part of it?
Yes, I have surveyed from the house this side of the school right through to Wainoni Road. I haven't done every one. I've actually got a list of the addresses, and I've got initials by their addresses, and I've also done the opposite side of the road as well, because they will be affected. Because
So that's Chisnall School?
Yeah, this is Chisnall.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
All right, Celeste.
Hi, sorry, I missed part of your presentation, but thank you for coming along.
That's not on.
So on, here we go.
yeah.
So sorry, you mentioned you've spoken to residents.
Yes.
Have you spoken to other people that use that street? So for instance, thinking specifically parents of kids that go to the school, one of the schools along there, or along it, because I think there's a few in the area.
There's only 2 schools now.
I think is there a preschool as well?
No, that's
Yeah.
closed. The Rainbow
Okay.
Preschool, no, that closed a long
It's
time.
3, if you include St. James.
Okay.
St. James is about 3 blocks away. It's quite a stretch.
Yeah.
So, no, I haven't. I don't know how to access the people. I'm sure that the school, under the Privacy Act, won't release their contact details. So, and costing them when they're picking up children, I don't think it's a great idea.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I know that road being a connecting road is important for residents, but I'm imagining that there's other people that are using that road for other purposes, apart from parking. So I just wanted to get any feedback from other people that are using that road for other purposes.
No, I haven't. No, I don't know how to access that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's just from the.
So I'm looking at it from a resident's opinion, the people who have made the investment in the community, who live here, and people have been here for multiple decades, like myself.
Do you have off-street car parking?
I do have off-street car parking, but my neighbours on both sides of me are in unit type accommodation. Some of it rental, some of it owned, multi-dwelling complexes. So they only have enough parking for their own vehicles. Yeah.
All right, any further questions? Kelly?
Nigel, thanks for coming in, and thanks for the work you've done in doing questioning people. Your responses from people reflects mine. I found one person in favour, you found 2, so good going. Just wondering on your thoughts about the preferred options that were laid before people. There were two options. One is unidirectional on one side of the road, and the other one was on both. it says here that 22 or 51% people prefer the idea of cycleways on both sides of the road, in direction. Only 16% or 29 people in total, I guess, in the survey, preferred option 2, which is the shared path on the north side, and then moving to the south side. So I guess my question is, do you think it would have been wise to have a third option, no cycleway?
I think that would have been an option to give the public, but as I said, there's a lot of people that I surveyed, when I spoke to them, they knew nothing about it at all. They hadn't seen this flyer that the council sent out dated the 25th of November. I believe that there were other incarnations before this. No one has seen any of them that I'm aware of. And I would say there's maybe of Saturday, when I last did my visits, there was maybe 6 people in total had seen this. I actually got a second copy personally delivered to me in an addressed envelope. None of my neighbours got a copy, so I don't know why I had another copy.
Had you already put in your submission when you got that? Had you already put in your, had you already made a submission when you got your address? I
had emailed and spoken with Hannah.
So they would have just wanting to make sure that you got one because you were expressed interest. So just to wrap it up, we asked the staff to go back. They presented us 3 options, and we weren't happy with them. So we asked to go out with a 4th option. So that's why it's gone out again. So that this is the decision-making meeting on the trial.
Yeah.
So that's why rather than it being anything nefarious, it's just that we wanted to make use of the potential to have some cycle infrastructure in the east, but we didn't think that the options that we've been presented were satisfactory. So then they went back out to the community, and they had done door knocking along the street, but obviously you can't catch everybody.
No, I've done more than 80 people.
Yes, you've done an amazing job. Thank you.
On my own.
Yeah.
So, and that's over a period of 2 weeks.
Can I ask how long that took you?
I did a full Saturday, and then I did another half Saturday, and I've done an evening through the week, and that's about it. Yeah. But yeah.
Having done a lot of door knocking myself, I know how long it can take, especially if people want to talk.
Yes, yeah, I've struck that. You know, the industries I've been in the attire I was wearing, a lot of people noticed that I was ex-railways, so everyone in Christchurch knows someone that worked at the railways. So, yeah, but yeah, besides that, the feeling that I got was the people hadn't been advised of what was going on, and they didn't want it, and they were very pleased that someone was actually picking up the mantle and running with it. I'd spoken with another person. He was going to do something, but he wasn't going to be in Christchurch for a couple of weeks, so he was very pleased that someone had done it.
Well, yeah, thanks very much for coming to the board and making your submission. We do appreciate it, and yeah, always encourage people to come in and talk to us and to participate in the process.
I'll leave a copy of the signatures and information here, and what I've read out, you can have that. All right, so I've got it on my computer at home.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, people.
Thanks, Nigel.
Thank you.
Thanks. Come along, Nigel.
All right. I think we can deal reasonably quickly with the next 2 things, and then and move on to this matter. So we don't have any petitions, and we have correspondence about from Nikki Duffield and Anne Curry in relation to Alpine View Lane, and at this point, all we can really do is refer it to staff for investigation. Are you happy to move that?
Yeah, very happy to move it. Can I speak to it or not really?
Well, you can.
Yeah, okay, just very briefly, this is not far from where I live, and the road is very narrow. It's actually just made for people to slow down, but they don't. And the residents, I keep getting queries from them saying, you know, what can we do? Obviously people have written in, so yeah, hopefully that we can do something about this. It is a little shortcut that people take. It's a direct route, you know, direct line to Burwood Forest, which is becoming very busy these days. They probably should stay on Preston's Road and then duck off at another entrance, but they don't, and a lot of them drive through there really quickly. It's interesting situation. So hopefully we'll get a good result here. Cheers.
All right. Seconded by Jackie. Yep. All right, I'll put that now. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried.
Thank you.
All right. Well, now just invite the staff up to give a report on the streets for people.
Yanni.
Hello again.
Hi, how are you? Hi everyone, I'm Charlene and this is David and Hannah. So I'm the project manager for the project for Stress People Aranui, and David's the designer and Hannah's the content engagement person for us. So before we get into the slide, we just wanted to say thank you for the support during last week's council meeting and for the project, you know, going out to the community and get these planter boxes painted as well. So it's been quite good for the community reaching out to us and saying, you know, it's great to see all of these things getting painted and, you know, getting more colour into the space as well. So we
And the bollards in the middle of Hampshire
Yeah.
Street.
it's been really
Right.
good. Yeah.
Good feedback on that.
Yeah.
Are you one of them? I was gonna say.
My car would have been there because
Okay. All right, sorry.
So we'll just get into the slide and get David to present the first option we've got. Bear with me for 1 moment, guys.
Yeah, you know, have both of them on it. Feedback.
Yeah, so this is option one, so bring it back to right at the start, as discussed before. These are the original options that went out to consultation with, being the unidirectional cycleway, and then just jump in. This is still the staff preferred recommendation from the original consultation that we went out for. Just talking about the advantages of the unidirectional cycleway is that it increases safety for all users because it reduces the amount of conflict, because everyone is put in their space on the road. So cyclist cars that aren't conflicting anymore. It's cheaper to install because it's not requiring a new crossing, which has been shown by option 4, which is a significant cost. It's a continuous instinctive alignment for cycleways, so you're not having to cross Breezes Road multiple times, you just travel in the normal flow of traffic. It's less invasive because it's just using the parking lanes. It's not actually having to reallocate road space, like remove the centre line and other things like that. As well as Breezes Road, Wainoni Road intersection does not require any alterations to facilitate the unidirectional facility, The disadvantage, obviously, the loss of majority of the car parking along Breezes Road. There is one piece between 146 and 150, which is retained, which is that indented car park just to the north side of Wainoni Road. The numbers of that is 85% parking loss, so 15% is kept. The other disadvantage as well, as part of this option to put in the race safety platforms, you have to widen curb and channel in certain locations. So there is civil works that have to happen to widen the road for that.
Are you happy to take questions about this option now?
However you'd like to do it, whether we do it now or we do all three.
I'd rather take I think take questions about the specific options.
Yeah.
So just members, if we could focus on this one option. How much safer is this than no cycle lane?
So this is 20% safer.
20%
Yeah,
safer.
so that is coming from Kotahi's monetised benefit cost. Yeah, so you get a 20% benefit from.
And option 4 is 10%. Okay, so it's twice as safe, right?
Yeah, because you've got the unidirection on each side. Yeah, instead of the other one.
And if you were proposing a permanent cycleway that was on both sides, would it be likely you'd be proposing removing 85% parking, or would it be? Do you think it would be likely that there would be a lot? Well, there would be a lot more possibilities for preserving parking.
If there was curb and channel works done,
Yeah.
so you'd have to do your curb and channel works to indent car parking to provide those. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Celeste?
As a follow-up to the pool question, so if we were to trial this option, being that it's I think it's the cheapest option we've got.
Yeah.
For the biggest safety improvement. You said that if we were then looking at making it permanent, we could look at adding back in parking potentially to some areas.
Yes, if you did other works while you were doing the cycleway, by indenting the cycleway, you could then add resident car parking.
So that could be something we look at later, based upon the feedback we get through this process as to whether it's even something that we want to implement long term. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. That's useful.
Just a question around process. So if we say we agree to put this in temporarily, we get to the 3 months.
Yeah.
So what's the process at the 3 months? So you would say we said it was really good, but there's just too much parking removal. We need the cycleway to come out. Would that still feed into a possible permanent cycleway?
Or something we can look into and come back to you.
All right, okay.
Yeah, it would. Sorry.
Yeah.
It still acts as a consultation for a future.
Yeah.
For future work. So yes, the feedback, even if you wanted to remove it, but the feedback was good, or where parking, then that would feed into any permanent design.
Yeah, so the process for any of the works, the stuff that has been accepted as well as the cycleway is for it to stay, you have to ask for it to stay, otherwise it gets removed. So no matter what, it'll get removed unless council, community board asks for it to stay. So yes, there'll be a report and everything about the feedback, so it would be used as future planning. So it's another way of consulting instead of giving plans. It's actually doing it hard and getting the feedback of a real project instead of just saying, here's the plans. People don't understand the plans. Yeah.
But part of it could stay.
So can we, Joe, then Kelly, and then Tim, if you.
I think you may have answered it a wee bit. What is the cost of removal? Is that included in the initial cost of setting up a temporary one?
No.
So you'd have, if we're not happy, you'd have to find extra funding to remove it.
It's a part of the project budget that it is built in with that. That's the whole premise of
And
the
if there is curb widening, that is not just temporary, that's actually quite a permanent thing, is that right?
Yeah, so the curb widening's done at the road safety platforms. So yes, if the road safety platforms wanted to be removed, then yes, the curb and channel would go back as well.
Okay.
But it is being designed in a way that if the cycleway was not kept, but the other stuff was kept, it's still in the right place, so that it doesn't actually need the curb and channel removed.
Thanks.
Kelly, and then Tim maybe, and then Yoni.
Thanks for that. Just a question around the sort of indent car park spaces, putting them into the berm. Is that expensive for sort of work? Do you have any idea of the costs?
It's reasonably expensive work, yes, but no, I don't have ideas of costs, sorry.
Yeah. Do you know where I could find out?
Something we can look into and bring it back Am I
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I'd be really curious. Yeah, they've certainly done it in Preston's, but it was planned with the subdivision, and I imagine retrofitting would be kind of expensive. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, they're not really not in the scope of a temporary thing, I guess.
No, yeah, I know that.
Tim and then Yanni.
Yeah, I'll just carry on from that. I had a water leak in my in the council pipe out in my boom, and to dig it up was a bit of an issue. If that was indented, because all in the boom is a lot of infrastructure, so it's not always a good idea to make that a hard surface. So just something to point out. Could you explain to me what the 20% means? Does that mean if over a 100-year period 10 people died on the road, it'd be 20% less?
Yes, but very much it's a 20% reduction in death and serious injuries over a certain period.
So if one person's died in the last so many years?
In terms of the cycleway, yes, there has been one death on Breezes Road, which the cycleway doesn't impact.
So that'd be over what, 30 years?
I've only looked into 10 years.
Okay, say 10. The last one I know of was about 30 years ago, but they was their own fault, wasn't it? Nothing would have stopped it. My question is that 20% reduction is actually, it's tiny, isn't it?
There's the reduction in crashes, but then also having infrastructure that people feel safe to use also induces people using it.
Yeah.
So it's not just,
Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, Yanni.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm just looking at this option. So on this option, what happens outside Chisnellwood School? Do the bus stops remain or do they get removed?
The bus stops would remain.
Right, and where does the cycleway go?
So this one previously stopped at the golf course, and then obviously option 4 has the option going all the way through, but we would work out a way that the bus stops actually stay there. But otherwise, yes, the cycleway would still be on that side of the road, so likely lose parking. Yeah.
Right, so have we done any assessment around what happens like with pick up and drop off for schools?
Yep, so we've done parking surveys there. So we know that I think it's 96% parking capacity is actually happening at pick up and drop off times, and that's on Breezes Road. So those parks are at demand during pick up and drop off time.
So sorry, I'm just trying to understand what happens with the proposals if we go ahead with option 1. You're saying we don't even go down that far, so there's no impact on Chisnellwood.
At the moment, there'd be, I think we can come back to you, but it's roughly about 50% of parking losses happen because there's indented car parking there already, that the cycleway would just go past the indented car parks. So if you look on the opposite side of the school, there's indented car parking there.
Cool. And then just the idea of just having painted cycle lanes, is that what we call this? Cycle lanes or the painted ones, which is the paths?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just what we normally do now in terms of other roads, how much of this currently has cycle lane markings and what percentage of safety increase would that go?
So currently Breezes Road only has between Wainoni and all the way to the red zone. At the moment, the painted cycle lanes are the ones that give the 20% if you have it on both sides, because there's no study showing separation, because separated cycle lanes are only less than 5 years old within New Zealand. So at the moment, unidirection cycleway or painted cycle lanes are the ones that give the 10% benefit in each direction. So at the moment, the answer is it's the same benefit because there's no value or research done by Waitai currently.
I guess what I'm trying to kind of understand is if we just left it how the road how it is without removing the parking, but put some more paint on and do the intersection improvements, what sort of safety benefit would we get?
Which section are you talking?
For the whole section. Like at the moment.
From Pages Road through to Chisnellwood.
Yeah.
Are you hoping to paint cycle lanes through there?
Well, no, like at the moment, there's a few areas that just have they have a picture of a bike, right? They don't have painted, they've got a little cycle lane. It's just got a bike picture. It's not painted in different colour or anything.
So what I
That tiny bits.
What I think Councillor Johansson is asking is, would it be just as beneficial to put in painted cycle lanes without any?
Removing the car park.
It's not wide enough.
It's, so, sorry, I think so between Pages and Wainoni Road, it's not wide enough to add painted cycle lanes.
Right.
You'd be coming through and putting undersized cycle lanes that it would be a disbenefit, it would be unsafe to do it.
So less safe.
Yeah, less safe.
Okay. All right, any more questions about option 1? No, all right, let's move on to option 4 then.
Cool. So option 4 is the bi-directional that you've asked for us to come back with. So you can just see there that that's what one of the 3 crossings along Breezes Road would look like, so that people can get away from the side roads is the main reason for that, to remove the conflict at side road for a major. So the advantages of a bi-directional cycleway is that there is a higher retention of parking. So that is a 62% loss. So a 38% retain, as well as the cul-de-sacking of Gosport Street would occur, which eliminates the risk of the cycleway from people flowing across it. The disadvantage is that it comes out as a 1.73 times higher relative risk analysis score compared to the unidirectional facility that we just talked about, option 1. A new priority crossing would be required on Breezes Road. Traffic lanes all require removal and then reallocated to their different locations. So that means road marking is removed of basically the whole road, and then we have to road mark the new lanes. The cycleway users, again, have to cross 3 times between Pages Road and the golf course, and that's just to keep it so that they're on the bi-directional facility, as well as the Breezes Wainoni Road intersection requires a full layout change as well to allow for the bi-directional facility to sit on the golf course side of it. That's a significant change.
All right, any questions about this one?
Oh, actually, if you let me talk about this here. So as part of this work, the investigation that we've done over the last 5-6 weeks, as part of the process, you have to do a safety audit to do with the work for any works that's going to be completed. So as part of the safety audit, it was required that the crossing point before the Pages Road intersection was turned into a priority crossing due to the volume of traffic along Breezes Road, that cyclists can't be expected just to cross there because it's unsafe because there are so many cars. And then that's why it's the raised priority crossing, like the other ones along Breezes Road, to be consistent. In locations that we were unable to get a 2-metre car park installed with having a 2.3 metre bi-directional facility, car parking was removed so that we can have the right space for all facilities in that area. And then it means in some locations that consistent shoulder marking has to be added in to allow for confident cyclists who will just continue along the road to also have a space to travel. They will not cross the road 3 times. Cool.
I was wondering if we could look at the maps.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful if we can. Although that's probably a bit.
The maps.
The map should be on your agenda.
If we blow them up on there so we can all see.
You can give me 2 minutes.
Yeah, give Cindy a bit of time. In the meantime, so as you know, I wasn't particularly enamored with option 1, and I thank you very much for coming back with this. I appreciate that it was more work, but I do very much see why it's not your preferred option, and it does have a lot more disadvantages. And to me, the primary, well, the disadvantage, the thing that I didn't like about option 1, is that it just removes so much parking. And as you point out, there's a huge, at peak times, there is a lot of that parking is being used. It feels we're in a bit of a bind because, and there's some that I generally strongly support cycleways and some infrastructure. What I really want to know is if there is some way we can make option one a bit more palatable? I think the answer you're going to say is no, there is not. And but on the other hand, I guess what I want members to think about is that we are talking about a 3-month trial here. So if we were to approve option one, or either option, when would implementation start? Do you think?
So we'll need to go to the council briefing, and after that we can start a week later. So that's 20th of February, I believe.
So if the council agreed with this.
And be before end of April,
So
February.
this is all part A, right? This is
Yes,
all
correct.
part A. So, Celeste, your question?
I know that we're under a bit of a time squeeze with this project. Is there any way to lay it on the table to then see if there is another, not option, but to gather more feedback perhaps before we go ahead with anything? I'm
gonna
that.
say no.
Okay.
Yeah,
So this is
for this
now-
one, for option 4, we crunched any sort of consultation into under 2 weeks. And it was not a great service to the community.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I would say no.
I do appreciate the key efforts that you've gone to, and I say, straight up, like, whether that was the case or not, I think, we have to make a decision. And I don't think it'd be fair to ask you to go back and do any more. And it's also, no option is ever going to be perfect.
Just ask one more.
Yeah, you go.
Just as a refresher, with because I feel like it's great to hear from residents, and it's really important that we know how the road is being used by people that live on that street. And I think we've definitely heard a lot from residents. What I feel like I'm missing at the moment, in terms of, and I might be just missing it if you read it, is from parents who want their kids to travel to the school and don't want them to because I've heard from a parent that said they would like their kids to travel to school. They're aware that there could be some parking concerns from residents, but they wouldn't let their kids bike to school because of safety concerns. How much feedback can be gotten from people that would otherwise allow their kids to bike to school, so parents and other people using other amenities in the area?
Short answer is we don't really know exactly who is a parent dropping their kids to school. Those were the people we targeted in the initial consultation. So this new refresher was the people who weren't directly affected as in outside of their household, but would be with option 4, just because of that crunch timeline. But for the initial consultation that we heard from 43, only 18 lived in Waitai, and it was advertised through the schools, but we're unsure.
I can give a parent's perspective because my kids go there this year, one's finishing, one's starting next year. The bulk of cyclists go down Avondale Road and they bike on the footpath on the red zone side. And then they stay on the footpath and they walk their bikes once they get to housing a lot of the time. The portion of kids that cycle to school from the other angles, I think, is quite low. With so many kids that are out of zone, most parents drop them off with a lot of parents being in same activities after school. The time for them to bike home and then be taken to activities is quite reduced. So any loss of cycling, as a parent's point of view, is quite major. Parking rather is quite major because you've got 500 kids leaving at 3 o'clock, and every time you're losing a park, it's that delay in the space to get away from.
Absolutely.
It's just not.
It's just not what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So we did talk to the schools themselves who were in favour of the infrastructure going in, or the whole plan really. But we only heard from who we heard from for the feedback.
Can you comment on the feedback from the principal of Chisnellwood?
He sent something through recently that we were going to work with him on this option 4 on the bus parking at the front. So that just got forwarded through to you recently.
Yeah, so we was talking about keeping the cycleway on the opposite side of the school to allow the bus not having a conflict with the cycleway there.
All right, any further questions about option 4?
Well, I think if we looked at that,
Is that a question? Question?
Discussion.
well, I can't have questions until looking a bit quicker, a bit further.
Right,
Which piece?
so what are you wanting to do then?
Well, that piece there, I personally don't have an issue with because there's still a lot of parking there. But if we carry on down the road,
Are you meaning for the unidirectional or the bidirectional? Option 1 or 4?
4,
That's option 1.
This is option.
Keep coming. There we go. So that starts at Chisnall Wood School bus park.
Happy to move on. Currently yellow lines on both sides along past Chisnall Wood anyway, isn't it?
No, there is some yellow lines, but there's also parking there as well.
Oh, the offset parking. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's indented on both sides, but that piece there, outside 108 through to 126 is current parking and cycle lane in a weird wide lane.
so that piece doesn't change much, eh?
Yeah, there's no parking loss there because the only parking is in that indented section outside 148 and 150.
So if you back up again to that one there, that's the one where we're losing, what, 12 properties? Okay. I think just a way of everybody to consider each piece together.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult when that's why we have it, all have copies of the agenda. Be good to, if everybody has that in front of you.
Yeah. With corrections, do you know what their legal parking spaces have to be? How many they're going to have off-site, on-site?
No.
Because quite often their car park's full and the street for 100 or 200 metres is full of cars and having things on. I don't know how to get around
Well, I don't think corrections don't own that building.
No, with a long-term lease. Then.
Yeah, so I think that the consent is held by someone else.
No, that consent would be with them, because that's what their activity is. To get in there, they would have the consent to be there and the amount of parking.
Oh, that's right. Corrections don't need resource consent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kelly?
Just a clarification question. I thought when this came to us the first time that Breezes Road, Wainoni Road to Pages Road was separated out from Breezes Road around Chisnall to Wainoni Road in separate, I guess, numbered items in the original recommendation that came to us. And then I thought that we had, Paul, you had put in that amendment to take out and reconsult on just Wainoni Road, Breezes Road to Pages Road.
No,
Is that
no.
right?
What we did is we declined the recommendation and asked staff to go back and come back at us with another recommendation. And so for the whole cycleway, trial cycleway proposal. So I should.
For Breezes Road. Yeah.
For Breezes Road. So, and that's the whole length of that trial. So then now considering is whether we wanted to go with option 4, or we could go back to the original staff recommendation of option 1. So we could choose either of those options. So we didn't break it up into a bit at all. It was the cycleway as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Tim?
Waitangi Road from Breezes Road to Shortland Street has cycle lanes, and so does Pages Road. Same thing.
Painted.
Did you consider using Shortland Street rather than Breezes?
I believe they did. Sorry, this is where the previous land Torrin would be helpful to have. So I believe they did originally look at it, but because everyone is accessing the school from Breezes Road, they deem the Breezes Road to be the crossing. The basis of the Streets for People project to receive the funding was to do with an infrastructure project that was sitting in the long-term plan when it was applied for. At the time, there was a Breezes Road cycleway in the long-term plan, and that is how the funding got received. So that's why Breezes Road.
Okay. Because to me, Shortland Street's wider, there's less traffic. But sort of make more sense for me to use that piece.
So, but while we, sorry to interrupt, but while I would have loved to have seen an option, as you know, including Shortland Street, we don't have a decision to make about Shortland Street at the moment. We could potentially, if we decline this, we're not even looking back at coming back with the funding for this trial or any trial for a cycleway goes. So we don't have any option of anything. Our options are option 1 or option 4 or nothing. So there's sort of like we can have a discussion offline about Shortland Street as a potential future, like if there's going to be a East MCR or something.
Yeah.
But we can't, like there's no point in going.
I think I'm jumping the gun and giving my view rather than waiting till later.
You can when it comes time for debate, you can spend your 3 minutes talking about an unviable proposal if you want.
3 minutes, I'll talk fast.
Any other questions about these options? All right. Well, I just want to thank you for your work and you know the Streets for People as a whole. Aranui is great, and we're really happy with it. This is obviously a bit more difficult, and you're very limited on what kind of proposal you can give us, given the nature of it. So I understand that it's not an ideal world for you either. So yeah, appreciate your work and you're taking the time to answer our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have a couple of minutes just to
breathe,
to breathe, and then we will have some discussion and then debate. Right. All right, and we're live. If I could just ask everybody to be quiet, please. Hello, everybody. Hello, Will. So, yeah, we're moving into discussion to talk about the unrestricted people, the trial cycleway on Breeders Road, where we have two options. We have option one, which is a unidirectional one outside the road, which removes 85% parking. And then we have option four, which crosses the road several times and adds an extra platform. And it's not recommended by the staff because it's not as safe and it has disadvantages. So if we have a bit of discussion before, I'll ask if anybody wants to move anything, but Jackie, it's up to say.
I can't actually support any of these cycleways, so I don't know how that works if we're voting. I just vote no against everything. I just feel that what we've heard from our deputation just indicates that there isn't enough from the people who actually live on that street to have the cycleway. And even though we know that it's a trial, right, and we say, okay, it's a trial for 3 months, but at the end of 3 months, we're actually allowed to say we don't want it. And I already don't want it. To me, that's like, if there's a whole group of us who don't actually want it, why are we going to spend the money to do a trial, only to rip it out at the end of that trial? I just feel that there's too many things against it in terms of the people who actually live on that street, which are actually just supporting it.
It's a point of order?
Yeah, can I just clarify, the option say 4 month trial?
That's not a point of order.
Clarification.
Question
Not the
clarification?
Yes, cool. That says 4 months, but I thought it's 3 months.
Yes, 4 month trial.
That's 4 months.
4 months. 4 months. All
Okay.
right, so 4 month trial, which would take us through. So that is
February, March, April, May, most of midwinter.
yeah. Can I just ask if it's 3 or 4?
It would be removed either
End of it, remove before the end of
End of May, it will be removed.
End of May, it'll be removed. All right, there we go. All right, Jackie, had you finished what you were?
No, I finished, yes, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. I just yeah, don't worry. So just for future clarification, a point of order is around standing orders. If you want to clarify something, it's a point of a question of clarification.
Could I ask the question?
Yes, you can.
I'm curious as to why we're doing a discussion. In my 4 years, 3 as chair of the board and 1 on the council, I've never seen it done like this.
The reason is because it's a fairly complex issue, and I want to make sure there's no lingering issues around clarification. So we all know what we're talking about,
Right.
It's not uncommon.
Okay.
And that way we're on the same page as to what we're discussing. For instance, we know that it's 4 months and we know that debate.
Oh,
we know the dates. Just because I want to make sure that we're clear about what we're deciding. So
right.
and that we're considering everything. Does anybody else have anything that like such as what has already been raised? Joe?
Just following on from what Jackie was saying, do we need to have another option on the table to do nothing?
Well, that's always an option. That's voting no.
Yeah, it is voting no, but do we have to actually have the reading?
No,
No,
because it's just no.
It would be recommend that the council take no action. So it would have to be a new resolution, as would if the board were to go with option 4, would have to amend this.
Well,
so it's a recommendation to the council, not a board decision. So the board have to recommend that the council decline either option.
Well, I mean, that's the default. If we vote no against this recommendation, or either recommendation is the default, what it means is whether it's worded that way or not, is that because the recommendation is the vote, whatever we vote.
So that would be like we had 2 votes that came out as no.
Well, it depends how it's put,
Okay.
and, yeah, how the process goes.
Okay, so if we declined both options, it would just go to the full council
As a recommendation,
Right.
no.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yanni?
Just wondering, is there a way that like some of the intersection improvements could be done but not the full cycleway? So if you look like the Breezes Pages Road, I think I raised this at the last time.
Well, so last time, I'll look at the draft resolution while you were asking the question.
Okay, cool.
Like
I mean, to give you an example, that's the Breezes Road, improvements, right, which seem pretty non-controversial and might provide some safety improvements.
Well, all the recommendation that is in the report says is that it approves implementation of option 1. And then that goes through. Where are we? I'm just having a look.
Like there's some stuff on the other side of Pages Road as well. So
anyway. And again, this is why we take that relatively infrequent step on this board. Are we able to get any advice from staff about what improvements along Breezes Road will be going in if we decline the cycleway?
So all the improvements on Regis Road has been approved apart from the cycleway facility?
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So I was just checking trying to find the last minute for all of the ones that were confirmed at last.
So what I thought that I had done, and thanks for clarifying, is we made sure that all the improvements apart from the cycleway went through last time.
Yeah, sorry, I understand that. We've got cycleway improvements on the intersections. Are they picked up in the cycleway or are they picked up in those other?
I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to clarify. Thanks.
We'll wait for that clarification.
Likewise, like if you look at Breezes Road across Pages Road, you've got a small sort of improvement where it's already, I think, yellow lines. I don't know, it's just painting a few
there's
green things on.
A few little,
It'd be a shame to chuck some of that stuff out if we voted against the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, it's also like if it's going to make a negligible difference, it's kind of just waste of time and money. Yeah, so I just want to.
I would say talk about the cycleway.
Any further discussion? Well, so what we can do, we can wait for we can go into debate while we wait for this, and we can just pause. So rather than wasting time, I believe that Celeste, you would like to move something.
So I was gonna move option 4, but full share option 1 and a full share option 4.
Okay, so option 1, which means that we debate option 1 on its own merits, and then if that fails, you need a seconder for both of those things. So you're moving option 1.
Yeah.
And then so that requires a seconder, and then we'll come to the end of that process. If that passes, then that passes, and that's it. But if it fails, then we have another one which you have foreshadowed and moved. So you move that, and you'll need a seconder for that in the same process. And then if neither of those pass, then that's a no recommendation for council. Is everyone clear on that?
Yeah.
All right. Do we have information from staff? Doesn't look like it. All right. Just give me a nod when you're ready. All right. So Celeste is the mover. You have all right. You can have up to 5 minutes if you like.
Does she have a seconder?
Yeah, you'll need a seconder though. Okay. I'll second pro forma. Well, that means it's a bit like when a lawyer says without prejudice. means I'm seconding it because I want a motion on the table for us to discuss.
I put those, starting with why, I think it's important to look at, because we know what the status quo is. And I think it's always good to look at what we can do better. And the option here is we trial something to see if there are any improvements, and the default is we take it out. So we don't have to advocate for taking it out. It will be taken out unless we choose to keep it in. So we have to make a decision about whether we want to keep it, which I think is a positive thing. Personally, I'm in favour in general of low cost, low intervention, fast interventions like this. I'd like to see more of them across the city. And we've certainly had lots of feedback as a council that people want us to do more of this. We get a lot of criticism, and I hate to use any of the terms that are commonly used, but we get a lot of criticism that we over-consult. We spend years looking at a perfect solution, and then often what happens is we find that the solution we've come up with still isn't perfect, and it goes on and on and on. So here we have something that was done, and to credit staff here, they've done a great job in working with as many of the stakeholders as possible, but because it is a project that is supposed to be reasonably quickly sort of developed and applied, with the idea that the engagement carries on through the trial period, I think it's a great way of testing out ideas. In terms of option one, I am in favour of that. I'm aware that there are some challenges on the second stretch from Wainoni Road down to Pages Road. That is, I think, the key area that we've had the most concerns with. The other section, I had a look there today, and my understanding is that's by and large yellow lines with off-street parking, which is already developed. Wouldn't create too many changes to that section of the road. So the main section of interest, I think, today is that last section. But I think the reason why this any transport improvements are important is that this is a road that's used by a lot of different people. So we know that people aren't necessarily choosing to bike along roads because they don't feel safe. The majority of the reason people don't bike is because of safety. So it's really hard for us to test whether this road would be used more widely amongst people who choose to bike to school or work or other locations, because we simply haven't had the opportunity to do that. So this is what this would allow us to do. I think even if the result of this consultation process was that perhaps the outcome was that we did take it out, we would then at least be informed by more thorough discussion and chance to engage with not only residents but other people that are using this road or would like to travel perhaps to school and have their kids travel to school safely. So for me, I think it just comes down to the fact of doing nothing. We know that this road is incredibly dangerous. There's been, I think, a couple of deaths in the last 10 years on the stretch of road, plus someone was killed on Pages Road. So this idea that we should just settle with the status quo when we know people are already at risk is something that I'm just not comfortable with. So while it's not a perfect outcome, and I do have some questions around if we would move to a more permanent option, how we can mitigate some of those concerns, I think we can address those through the process which would follow this, which is looking at the information we got through the process and then working with communities to develop, if we chose to have more permanent solution to some of the issues raised.
Thanks, Elise. We're pausing the debate just for information from staff.
So to confirm, Pages Road is not included. Pages Road has been included as part of the cycleway. Previously at the last community board and council, the race safety platform outside of IATA for the crossing and Avondale Golf Club are the two pieces that sit outside of the cycleway. So Pages Road, if wanted, would need to be road that we take that out.
Yeah, so both the Breezes Road and Wainoni Roads, sorry. So both the Pages Road and Wainoni Road crossings with Breeze won't get done if we vote against this. We need to put a separate resolution to get this done. Yeah.
And option one, nothing happens at Wainoni. Only option four, that something happens. Okay. So if the cycleway wasn't to occur, you've already cycling infrastructure, so you don't need to do.
Right. All right. Thank you. Kelly.
Look, I think it's a difficult situation. It's not perfect, but first I want to say well done to the staff for the overall project. They got a lot of things right, and it made a real difference in the area. And I'm talking about the wider Aranui Streets for People project. I mean, we basically come to work to solve problems, and I think quite a number of problems have been solved in the area. I'm not convinced about the cycleway on Breezes Road for a couple of reasons. We do over-consult on some things, and sometimes, situations like this where Nigel has been out and basically knocked on doors for a day and a half, way more than I did, and he's seen the same things that I saw, which is that this is not a popular option with the people that live there. The people of Aranui often talk about, do things with us, not to us. I know the people of Actus are really big in their community, asking for people to come to them and talk about how to engage. And I spent an hour with the people of Actus today, trying to work out how we can better work with the people with their yellow bins, etc., to get them to do the right thing. It was a really productive time because they had insights that the rubbish team, for want of a better phrase, didn't really appreciate. And so, I think maybe Actus would have been a good start. They were the ones that actually sent me down Breezes Road to knock on doors. Again, this project 90% funded by NZTA, Waka Kotahi. I think they're trying to make good positive changes for the area. But at the end of the day, I represent the people of Aranui and the building board, and when they speak as clearly as they have on this, it's very hard to go against them. And I recognise the need for cycle safety, but I also recognise the need to follow a good democratic process. And when people speak, we need to listen to them. And so I struggle to support this. Cheers.
Thanks, Kelly. Anybody else wants to speak? Tim?
Thank you. One thing I get annoyed with is organisations such as Waka Kotahi saying this is what you're going to do rather than coming to the community first. So thanks for that, colleague. I can't support it because for all the reasons that have been said. I think I've said enough, I think, about all the reasons, so I'll stop there.
I mean, I think this is one that I was really looking forward to, the additional option coming back, but what's really clear from the community feedback on that is that one is not supported either for a number of legitimate concerns, I think, around safety and design. But I think, just to pick up on the point that the Future Streets Aranui project has been around for quite a while, almost 5 years. And I feel like we do need to learn some lessons. I think as part of the initial report that we got to the board, it was mentioned that there's some lessons that we should learn from how we do things. I just take my hat off to the local resident for door knocking and engaging in the community. But the idea of having a public meeting, for example, a community meeting where people can come and talk through the issues, it seems to me that the problem with this stretch is unless we have a more substantial budget to do more permanent changes, we will not be able to really bring the community with us around what we do. And I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't actually strive to do that in terms of our plan. The sadness was that Future Streets Aranui report was supposed to inform the 2018 LGP, and it never did. And then it was supposed to, big work be done, but never happened. And then we thankfully got central government to give us some money around the Streets for People project. But the more I think about it, the things that we could do to alleviate the community concerns require pretty significant capital investment, more so than what we've got in terms of the money on budget for this one. May have been different if we had the Gloucester Street budget, which is almost twice as much for an area that's about 10 times as small, but we don't have that money. And I think I'd rather see us put the money into a permanent solution that gets a good outcome for the community and for cyclists, rather than trying to do this trial, which just seems like, yeah, incapable of being done in a way that can mitigate and alleviate the concerns.
Anybody else wish to speak? Good. All right. I've come to the decision, and having heard everything today, that I do not think that this is good enough to support. And I would like to be able to support, and I want, as I have said, I want cycle infrastructure in the east. The issue for me is that we essentially don't have enough money to do what is needed to be done. Now, I've heard what you said, and I know what you said, Councillor Johansson, is that so when we do get an option for some permanent cycleways, I hope that you will make good on what you've been saying, and that we will together work through to get the cycleway that is safe, that it works, that uses public space in a way that works not just for people who own houses and drive cars, because those aren't the only people. There are lots of other people. Everybody lives in the house, but we need to use this public space, and we cannot continue to design a city for cars. We need people to be able to get around in different ways. And I say I'm a cyclist, I'm a motorist. Sometimes I get a lift with the deputy chair of the community board, and sometimes I catch a bus. And we need to get out of a mindset. It's not a battle between cyclists and motorists and stuff. We need to use that public space well, but we also need to have options that have enough flexibility to work and when issues come up. And it would be like, I know that this is a trial, and I acknowledge staff here, and we've got in 4 months, but I see this I see this option one as the best option because it's the safest and it's the cheapest and it's the most clear. I also see it being utterly enraging for the residents. I'm disappointed that I don't feel like I have an option that I can vote for, but I really want to ask all of you that when we do get more concrete options, that we spend the time trying to figure out how to make it work, because no option is perfect, but we do need cycle infrastructure, and that parking is not sacrosanct. We need parking. It's not, it isn't the solution to everything either. All right, so on that note, I'm going to put option one now. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Aye.
Abstentions. All right, so that fails. So now option 4 has been foreshadowed. You still want to move that?
I think it's still worth foreshadowing it.
Okay, do you have a seconder?
Sure.
So can I just get?
So this is we're not on debate. So there's only questions around order.
Yeah, it's just a question around process to pick up those other intersections. Do I need to flag a foreshadow?
Well, you not only that, but I would request that you have a motion prepared, because it will be reasonably complex. And in fact, I think that I think you're better off doing it by
potentially also raise it at council.
You can raise it at council. What I would request, councillor, is that you raise that at council rather than do it here, and you have the advice from staff and a motion that is technically correct, because I don't want to make a recommendation to council that is incorrect. So are you happy to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
And we can see that and support it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but then it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
And remember, this is just a recommendation to council. So do we have a seconder for option 4? No, I'll say I'm not. I don't want a second option 4 because I think that it's worse than option 1. I come to a point where I think it's got too many disadvantages to it. So Yeah, no seconder? All right, well, that lapses. So the recommendation to council is that neither of those are passed. But I'll say to councillors, if you can come up with something that's going to work, you've got the opportunity to do that at the council table, which councillors may feel different about it when it happens. All right, okay, and that I thank staff and for your work and acknowledge Nigel and your work, and yeah, see you later, Greg. Happy New Year. All right. Now moving on now to option number nine, item number 9. No more options. These are both these next two. We have Courtney. Hi, Courtney.
Hi.
These both seem pretty straightforward to me. Does anybody disagree that they're straightforward? Do you have some questions?
Greg has some questions.
Oh, Greg has some questions. So can we can talk about both of them and then hopefully move both of them. All right.
Is that right?
Go, Kelly.
This is around Ratheringa Street. Greg wants to know what research has been done on parking requirements in this area.
So I haven't done any parking surveys. I've just spoken to people at the businesses there.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be able to, speak to that.
It's okay.
Really.
He says people already park on the footpath and grass. Are there any plans to address that issue other than yellow lines?
So there is current signage there that says no parking in the paved area. Really important that, people don't do that. We want to keep the, that area protected. We're hoping that the yellow lines will deter people and the signs are already there, but we're actually also looking at improving the signs.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I live just down the road. Just down that road on the other side. He says 4 businesses were consulted, yet there are 5. The landlord for the whole block, were they consulted at all?
No, I don't think that they were from memory. It was just the people that were there at the time. There's one empty business and there was one down the end that I wasn't able to get hold of through the letter drop.
Was that the Indian restaurant?
Yeah, but I emailed them and they never responded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because Greg spoke to him and he didn't know about it. So
Yeah, no, I emailed him, but no response.
Wasn't parking bay considered possible PTN on the other side of the road? And I guess that would involve, again, making a parking bay in what is a footpath.
Yeah, no, that wasn't considered. I don't think that that's something that we would want to cut into to create extra parking, and there's already parking around the back of the businesses.
Yes.
There's also indeed parking around the side near the residential properties. There's quite a few spaces there. I think we want to protect that pavement as much as possible.
Yeah. How far down Ratheringa Street did you look in terms of, he wants to know what considerations have been given for the rest of Ratheringa Street? It's quite narrow, there is parking bays.
Yeah, so no, we just looked at where the businesses are, and that's because basically there is the more demand near the businesses, so that was where we found was relevant for the increased demand in parking. There's in that whole subdivision, there's quite a few narrow streets, and if we look at that as a specific thing, then we'd have to look at the, spreading it out further, and it's not really feasible to do that, so.
Okay, that's the extent of Greg's wishes.
All right. Annie?
Yeah, just kind of concerned that maybe, so we haven't looked at the resource consent assessment around traffic generation. No, okay. Is there a way that we can get this?
It's not really like, sorry, I just have a question around relevance, like where?
Because sometimes what we've had in the past is we've had these developments that come and require us to put in yellow lines to address safety concerns. But if you read the resource consent and the conditions in the traffic assessment, there's sometimes things that they're supposed to have done that they don't do. And so one way that they get around it is by getting us to put yellow lines in that alleviates the requirement for them to do the things they were supposed to do as part of the development to actually address these sort of safety things.
All right, so do we know whether they're adhering to the terms of their resource consent?
Yeah, that's just kind of.
I haven't looked into that, but I think that might be a network planning thing for them to maybe look at.
Right, because I guess the concern would be like, how we've ended up with a kind of commercial premise with such danger from something that's relatively new. Like, I just don't understand how that happens. Is there a way that we could ask that this kind of gets a bit of an audit? I mean, I'm happy to support what's going on here, but I wonder if there's.
You're talking about that, aren't you?
Yeah, right in the street.
I mean, I can certainly, try and look into it and get network planning.
I think that'd be
as well.
useful, even if it's just a.
It's not, that's the issue, I absolutely get what you're saying, I think the issue is not isolated to just the subdivision, it's across the board, real problem.
Yeah, cool. Because I know I know we're doing a review, I know the infrastructure design standards get reviewed every so often as well, and things like this could helpfully inform that.
All right, seems like an issue for councillors potentially to consider. Any other questions about? Okay, so no questions about the item number 10, which is the Bow Hill Road either. All right,
I just want to speak.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Well,
I'm happy to move it.
You're happy to move Raranga Street, we'll do that separately then. Happy to move that, seconded by Jackie. Put that now, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. And so Bow Hill Road, do we have any questions about Bow Hill Road? No.
I won't speak to it.
That's all right. So you want to move it?
I'll move it.
Moved by Joe, seconded by Celeste. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right, so both of those pass.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.
All right, thank you. So the next item is item number 11, which is the DRF application from St John the Evangelist Wolston. Just Emily, join us. So I'll just preface this by saying that the issue around food banks is being dealt with at the metropolitan level, and you'll see that the big food bank has collapsed. But that issue, there is somebody else who will be stepping in and will be doing it, be operating differently. So that is good news, and this funding is enough to take it St John the Evangelist to the point where they should be able to be getting packages. So it's a very small stopgap measure. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, you've summed it up, that basically February is when we're hoping Kairos will be resourced enough to provide food for those remaining food banks.
So it is only it is a small amount. Happy to move? No more question? I'm happy to second.
Just ask a question.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. I was just thinking a little bit more clear. So they're on the waiting list at Kairos. We're giving quite a lot of money to Kairos as a council, but they're not in a position now to be able to support them.
No, not yet. So they need to, the money that council has provided to Kairos is to hire more staff so they can basically get more trucks, get more food. Now that the Food Bank Canterbury, that relationship is broken down with the supermarkets, there's going to be a bit of a shuffle and people can approach local supermarkets themselves. So that relationship building is going to take a bit of time. And the same with Kairos as it starts to take on different contracts and find storage warehouses, that kind of thing.
Right, okay. So the Kairos, there's no change to the advice based on that announcement a few days ago with Woolworths and Kairos?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, it's still just a capacity issue getting up to speed.
Yeah, get up to speed, yeah. Just recruitment and truck drivers, that kind of thing.
Okay, thanks.
Next time.
All right. No further questions. Motion now be put. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried.
Thank
All right, thank you. And now we have item number 12, which is the better funding application for the Waitai Youth Board, which we've been substantially briefed on, and everybody was in full support. And Rebecca, is anything you wish to update us about that?
Nothing to update on that.
I guess the only thing, obviously depending on the board's decision, we'd be looking probably around May time for the group to be established once, with holidays. The plan is to do some kind of information style movie in March. We get anyone who's interested to come into the boardroom, and we'll do sort of, team building to understand how potential applicants might work together, get some ideation going and stuff like that. So that kind of be the sort of an information style night. We'll do quite interactive in March, and then that would roll into hopefully by May we've had the group established by that point. So that's kind of just the timeline should the boards approve the funding.
Alex's question.
So we will have another meeting before we start looking for applicants and stuff like that, just to sort of get feedback on how we go out and look for people to join the board. Or that'll be done before our next meeting. Is there an option for us to sort of just?
The chances, we probably need to get applications going, should be waiting until February, so, but certainly there can be, we can circulate any content with the board in terms of recruitment, and if you know of anyone that's interested, then you can definitely pass them on as well. So that'd be the idea, is just invite everyone down to that meeting in March, or that meeting in March. We sort of go in that way.
Schools and stuff as well.
Yeah, so the idea of the recruitment is we're going to sort of lean heavily on the youth sector as opposed to the schools so heavily, just because of potential, who the schools might recommend in terms of, we want that authentic and diverse range from our community, rather than necessarily being high achievers or head boys and that. Not saying that they're not eligible to come to the group, but it's just we really want to try and get as close to an authentic match to our community as possible. So we're really looking to the youth organisations to show the tap and identify young people that traditionally may not put their hands up for something like this, but actually just need that nudge to step up and sort of push themselves outside their comfort zone. So, happy to speak to anyone.
Celeste and then Joe.
Thanks, this looks really great. I'm just wondering, earlier on we did discuss whether we could engage in into the long-term plan. This obviously will come too late for that.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can incorporate some work as part of this border plan?
Yeah, so there is work being done with the Christchurch Youth Council and some others around youth engagement with long-term plans. So I'm actually meeting with them Wednesday to talk around, just finer details in this project. So we'll definitely be linking in the youth groups in this area into that process as well, to make sure that we do have that, because we are missing the boat slightly, unfortunately, but yeah.
And just a quick follow-up, would we then look at funding that separately if we needed funding for that?
I believe they've got funding for that project, yes, so that would be separate to this, but we'd be, one of those people sort of pushing to help aid them in that process to make sure there is a good Eastern voice in that piece of work.
Joe?
Yeah, sorry, I was away when we first discussed this. With the time commitment for the young people, is it like a weekly time for so many hours or so many months? Or?
Yeah, so it would be essentially setting up in May, and we'd be running it through to the end of the year as one, so it'd be an end of the year commitment for the first year, and then we would start again in February for the following year, of which they could decide to stay on or step down at that point. And it would be monthly meetings to start with in terms of regular, but then depending on the work and things they target, there'll be other meetings that they'll have to attend.
And what happens if we don't meet enough people, or if there's not enough people that join in, or if they pull out, do we get?
So I guess two parts to that. If people pull out, we can look to fill those spaces.
Okay.
The hope is, and the feeling we're getting from the sector is that we won't be short of trying to find 8 young people to sit on this. And potentially the idea is that any extras will form a kind of friends of the change makers, that if we're running events or we're doing stuff, we can pull in that wider group and say, hey, you're really keen for this, there's some other opportunities, so we're not saying, yes to 8 and no to however many that don't necessarily make great. But yeah, it'd be disappointing if we didn't find 8 people that would be keen to do it. But
and if they don't commit to the whole time, you can actually.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why we want to have that hui, is to make it really clear what the expectations are of them, but also what they can expect of us in terms of what they'll get out of it. So that's the idea, is to do that so that we can be really clear, and anyone who's a bit unsure at that stage, can step away without then doing that, without putting in an application form and finding out after the first meeting, this isn't what I thought it was going to be or anything like that. So that's why we want to do that kind of information / engagement piece.
Okay.
All right. Any further questions about this? No. All right. Would someone like to move? Moved by Celeste, seconded by Tim. All right. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. All right. Thank you very much, we're in team. And so the next item is item number 13, which is the board representation on the Waitangi Avonside Community Services Trust board. Jackie is unable to do it. Greg has said that if he was nominated, and I nominate him,
I see that.
and seconded by Tim, that Greg would be happy to do it. So are there any other nominations? No. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
That was Paul and Tim, so.
Yeah, so me. And the next is item number 14, which is the area report, which goes back to Rory. We can take it as read.
Yeah, take it as read and just from Chris pass on thanks to the team for all the work, and just remind the board to appoint someone to attend the judging for the street and garden.
So instead of having a recess committee, by the way, we just, if there's something comes up, we'll have an extraordinary meeting. All right, thank you, Nigel.
Thank you.
But out of that, yes, we're asked to appoint a member to attend the 2024 half-day judging for the Street and Garden Community Pride Awards. And Jackie was keen. Are you still keen? Is anybody else keen? Oh.
Depends where
when
it is.
It's
26th
of February, 9 till 12. It's a Monday. It's also the day of the principal's breakfast.
Oh yeah.
You'll have enough time.
Oh, absolutely. I can fly. You've seen it.
Yeah, I know. I've seen you drive.
Yeah.
So we've flown down Radley Street this week.
Yeah, I know. I was running.
Do you want me to make a note about extraordinary if needed?
No.
No?
I'll join you, Jackie.
All right.
It's just one member.
Just
I'm
one
sorry.
member, but you can, yeah. Just,
But I can put you as a reserve.
yeah.
I'll be reserved.
Oh, you go with the gardening people, and pretty much he decided.
I'll move. I'll move that we appoint Jackie for that. Does someone want to second? Seconded by Tim. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. So that's just the appointment. In terms of the there's a bunch of stuff that come out of that report. We've got a little bit of time. A bunch of stuff. Well, there's like the Guardians. Like I don't. So we've received a letter back from John Paul Sal saying there's no money available for the Guardians from the central fund. So there's and suggested that we use our Better Off funding. Which, and I am still unclear about whether there's what the process is. So I would like to bounce the ball back and ask what the process is for allocating funds from the Metropolitan Better Off funding. We don't need a resolution from that, but I wanted, because it is on so I can do that. But I just wanted to raise that, and so I don't think that this conversation is over. Kelly, did you have something to say about that?
Are you talking about the Better Off funding that we're receiving for the board?
So there's two pots, right? There's the Metropolitan, there's the safety fund, and then there's our fund. So what John Forsell, council staff have said is, if you want to fund the Guardians, then you're welcome to fund that out of your $500,000.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is say, well, there is a fund that's supposed to go to safety initiatives at Metropolitan level. We don't know what the process is for that. Can you tell us what the process is?
Yeah, look, I mean, I totally agree. I think if we can, we should access that fund. If we can't, I think it's about time that we had that discussion, or continued that discussion that you started around the better off funding and how that might.
I was going to come to that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and look, I mean, I've had some thoughts about this, and maybe now is not the time to raise them.
Can I just respond to the comment? Gubbins, we can talk.
So yes, well, I think, so when does the Guardian's funding expire again? End of March. So, I think, yeah, we'll end of February. So if we're going to, that's right. I knew there's something else forgetting.
They're applying to that.
They're applying to run, yeah.
Can't guarantee it.
So can I ask that if that is, we keep abreast of developments? Yeah. And that way we won't, because the Guardians initiative is really good. Don't think any of us want to see it stop. So if we come to our first meeting in February, you'll provide us, hopefully we'll get an update before then. So we'll know if we have another decision to make. Yep. Right.
I haven't finished the other thing. Are we having that discussion now about better off funding for the board or some other time?
Just if Celeste going to say something about the Guardians, I'll come back and say what I was using.
More specific, I just want to support what you're saying. I got some clarification about the remaining allocation of that fund. So I'd be interested in supporting what you suggested and bouncing it back, because while the Guardians is a ward-based project, there are a couple of other wards that would also benefit from that. There is a discussion about whether some of those other high priority areas, and Brighton's got, in terms of the data, is one of the areas that are most impacted by some of the antisocial behaviour. Well, there's another, and there's other parts of the city. So there is a discussion about those areas being prioritised for funding as a bundle, in which case it would be a metropolitan initiative.
Yep.
So I think it's worthwhile exploring that further.
Yeah, let's do that. So coming back to better off, we don't have time, but also it's not an agenda item. But what I was going to write to members and say that, and invite us to share, if people have ideas of what to do, if members have ideas of what to do, if people want to send around one page kind of pictures or ideas, so that we get an idea of what other, and people can do it as together if they want to, so we get an idea of what people are imagining, and then in the new year we'll come in there and we can first we can talk, and then we can allocate the funding, because what I didn't want was it all to get caught up in the annual plan and the long-term plan, and I wanted to come at it fresh, and that we don't just didn't just rush to allocate the money, because it's not often that we get $500,000 to allocate, and I'd prefer it was for stuff that wasn't ad hoc but had some lasting impact. And that's just me. I mean, if you want to make a pitch for the value of something that's ad hoc, then go for it. But I just think it'd be good to have a substantial conversation about it.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. I think the conversation should be, consideration should be given to splitting it into three for the wards, with what we have left, maybe a small component for combined projects. That's just my thought. I would often have felt that sometimes Bill misses out on these sorts of things, and I'd certainly like to work with Tim and Greg to recommend local organisations and local projects that might otherwise not have made the threshold.
And I think that before we make that decision to do that, it would be good to have to get an idea of what people are thinking.
Sure.
So we will have to make a decision as a board on how to allocate it, but I think that there is merit if board teams, if the two community board members and council want to make pictures, do a one pager, then awesome. That in itself is a strong argument, right?
Okay.
Yes. You know, so be good if people would do that, yeah?
What are the guidelines?
That it must be consistent, so this is just me, but it should be consistent with the board plan and priorities. Yeah, that, which is what we agreed together when we discussed it, that it should be that the board, our board plan and priorities are what it needs to give effect to that. Yeah. Right, yeah.
Do we know what's happening with all the other proposals? Like the staff already presented a long list of proposals.
Nothing is.
So are we going to get like a full report with those proposals, our proposals?
Well, no, we get a report of once we have discussed what we want to be in the report, then.
Just worried we've got like what, one more meeting before does the funding have to be allocated?
No.
Or it just.
It lasts the whole training. We have the money.
Oh, right, I thought we just heard that there was some sort of funding design for the Guardians around the bit of funding.
No, the Guardians different. The Guardians is because their funding runs out.
Oh, their funding.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So don't worry. We this is why I didn't want to. I have been comfortable that we don't allocate the funding because we have until the end of our term to allocate it.
Okay. I was just concerned like places like the Smith Street Garden trying to get the Impala house, and the longer that process goes on, the bigger the risk of house getting
if that's an idea that you have, then you're welcome to.
It was raised at the previous thing.
Okay. So moving on, just other things that come up in the report. There was the shoulder on it would. If are people comfortable adding the shoulder widening around Spencerville to our I just want to flag it really for staff to include, to take note of, so that we can do it in our long-term plan submission.
Oh, yeah.
So in the board area report, there was a Lower Sticks Road. One of the suggestions from staff was to add shoulder widening, just so that there's a bit more space for cyclists. Obviously, it doesn't merit a cycleway because it's not the level of need. But shoulder widening, the staff obviously thought that it
But it's something that we've been had a request put through.
Yes, that's right. So and then the next one was I'm a little bit grumpy about the feedback from Clarendon on Clarendon Terrace, and that because if you're familiar with it, you come over the bridge and then you turn left and it goes downhill, and if they're going to reduce the speed limit to it, but cars are coming onto what would be a 40k, but coming off a 50k, I think I would like to ask staff to investigate options for slowing down traffic entering Clarendon Terrace from Bradley Street. Can we move that from this?
And that's what Ian asked for, wasn't it?
Yes. So yes, let staff investigate options for slowing traffic entering Clarendon Terrace from Radley Street.
Yanni's mouse is literally making that mouse sound. So it's squeaking the road.
Clarendon or Don?
Clarendon.
He's sitting over there, isn't he?
Okay, so I'm moving that. Would someone like to second it? Seconded by Tim. Can we? Is it?
It's on this.
Yeah, but is it necessary? Because we're coming to the end of the meeting and we're moving something. We're making a request. Is there anything else really?
Well, I've got some other things that I want
on
to
this
raise on the area report, but just on this, there are plans that have been done already by Kiwi Rail, by the council, around doing some slowdown of traffic through here, particularly around the bridge and the Kiwi Rail.
Okay, I'm sure that the staff are aware of that. Yeah. All right. Okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Carried. Sorry, I'm just moving through things. And the Parnwell stuff, we've got some feedback from staff on that. I'm assuming we would like staff to investigate options for,
Traffic
slowing traffic on Palmwell.
Yeah, we would like to see that. I know that the traffic safety team have a budget for traffic safety improvements.
Mhm.
Spoke to Gemma about that before. I think they'd be good.
All right, so, to move that, refer staff for investigation of safety improvements.
Traffic calming.
Staff.
Refers, the Palmwell Street, to staff to investigate traffic calming and safety improvements. I've moved that. Does anyone like to second it? Jackie? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. And the next one, which was coast to coast, in which I would just like to request staff work with the race organisers to discuss options for highlighting the finish of the highlighting coast to coast.
I'm concerned about that in the respect that we've had traffic working, responding to this.
But I don't.
You've just opened that up to any unit in the organisation in the respect it could be parks, it could be traffic.
And actually,
So who am I sending my action to?
Not transport.
Not
So
transport.
can we approach Christchurch, New Zealand or not?
Pardon?
Can we?
Well, it didn't meet the criteria. So from my understanding, no, they haven't been contacted because they had the criteria from NZTA and whichever rules as per.
No, Christchurch, New Zealand for something on the foreshore.
Yeah, I do.
I think Christchurch
do that?
NZ is probably the right place to send it, and I can have a chat with them too.
I've already contacted Christchurch NZ.
Oh,
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, what is that?
Yeah.
They're interested, they just want further information about the project.
Okay.
They want to,
So-
so there's potentially an option there to explore it with Christchurch NZ.
Okay.
Maybe they could have a chat to the two of us. One, since you're the local, and
Yeah.
two, since I know a bit about the coast to
I
coast.
think that, I think the first step is they just wanted to get more information from the race organisers to understand what they were looking for. And from there, then they can refer that back. So it was just an information request and their first step.
In that case, if you two want to work on that, we don't need anything, you just come back to the board. So, now bearing in mind that we're over time, I know it's our last meeting on, so is there anything else that's come from? So we've got Alex and then Joe and
Keep it very, very,
Celeste and Yanni.
really, very quick. I just really wanted to publicly acknowledge the New Brighton project for like spectacular Christmas parade last weekend. It was really, really, really well attended. And it was something that I believe our board might have funded partially as well. So it was just, really awesome of me.
All right. Thanks, Alex. Celeste?
Oh, well, yeah, I just want to also agree with what Alex said. That was a fantastic event, and all the organisations that involved. I just have a question. In terms of following up on stuff, I had a query come through around Marine Parade and a request that come.
Sounds like, are we in information exchange or in?
I'll say that.
Yeah, okay, so, and that sounded like information exchange too, I was wondering, is this?
This is about the
area report?
city to see, the Red Zone Parkway. It's in the report.
Yep.
Are we going to get the chance to actually, as a board, feed into this?
Don't know.
No. There's no time for a briefing prior to their proposed consultation. If you have any feedback, by all means, send that through to me and I can share that with the relevant team leader and engagement advisor. But I would be cautious to send that through to me probably by the end of this
just looking
week.
at the pathway, and it totally misses out on the Dellington landing.
Yeah.
And it's like, why was the Dellington landing?
So again,
created? And
feedback and questions sent through via me and I will pass on to relevant staff
Yeah.
and share it with the board.
So email Cindy and that will go to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you think as a board, we need to actually give feedback into it?
When is the consultation close?
It's going to come out at the end of January, it says.
Okay, well, in that case, we can, if we're gonna make a submission, we'd need a submissions committee. And if it,
Potentially a decision will come through, but it's split. It's not just us, it's also
Yeah.
a Papanui.
but we could make so are we making a submission or are we making a decision?
I think we will be making the decision.
Okay, well, if we're making a
And a
decision.
recommendation to the council.
Okay, well, in that case,
Okay.
we do, in that case, we make it, if we're making a decision on part of it, we don't have to feed into it.
Yeah.
But we can make suggestions beforehand.
Yep.
If we want to.
Yeah, okay.
Right, any from the area report, anything else? So just again, bearing in time, we are running near the end of our time and that we have to honour our the collective agreement that staff are employed on. Yanni?
Oh, yeah, cool. Can we just get the dates for the Linwood Forum to be put into our diaries? Is that something that's possible? It's good to see that they had a meeting.
Well, you can ask Mabel to do that for you.
Yeah, I have, but.
Well, and the thing is, you councillors have an EA.
So do we organise, sorry, well, can I ask it the other way then? Who organises the Linwood forums? Is it the individual groups or is it our governance staff?
No, so it's the community, so it was handed over to the community before London Central Healthcare team before the election. So that's the same with that one and another meeting. So we are invited to attend those meetings as staff. We don't organise them or anything.
And we do get sent a weekly schedule that has meetings in it.
The problem was it didn't have these ones in it, and
it's always had it in it. You make sure you scroll all the way down.
We'll make sure that
I read the last three and the one on December.
Because there was one in October.
And there was one last week.
So no, there was a forum. Oh, do you mean the Lynn Ward Collective?
Yes.
Yeah, that's different.
Okay. Sorry.
There's the Linwood, there's the Greater Linwood thing.
Right.
And then there is a Lynn Ward Collective. And I was advised that the Lynn Ward Collective is not for elected members. So if we want to have a meeting with the community groups, that's separate from the Greater Linwood.
Okay, sorry, yeah. I just saw the thing here.
Yes.
I was just wondering if that was something that we would be invited to.
No, I asked about it for the same reason, and that was the advice I was given.
I did get a private invitation to. Sorry.
Because
They invited me in.
The other thing that we would normally do is we would host a Christmas thank you to the volunteer groups. Are we doing that this year as a board?
You mean that the former community board, so when you say we, you mean the other community? Well, we do not currently have planned or I believe the capacity to do that this time.
What about a welcome back to work one? I just think it might be nice given the board changes that we engage with it.
Well, we could consider that, but we can't consider that now. If we do something, we could, so we can't make any.
There's definitely a consideration around funding as well, time.
Yeah, and
we don't need to allocate.
And we do have pretty tight and a lot of demands on that area. So let's just park that. Anything else from the area report? No. All right. In that case, let's go to elected members' information exchange. If there's anything that is vital. So let's.
It's just a question in regards to correspondence that we received, and I don't know if we've had a response yet, but it was around getting a more consistent approach to sealing some of the gravel areas on Marine Parade.
So I received your email via the chief executive and the one to me. I'm chasing and batting back half responses until I get a full consistent response, and then I'll absolutely share that back with you and the board. Just a opportunity just to remind you guys then that the local ones sent through to me, including CRAF and wider metropolitan surf projects, OCE.
Yeah.
Because I ended up picking up your New Brighton CRAF one as well this morning from the office of the chief executive.
And that would include New Brighton Road as well, because I know John's been just there for a while, and so there's sort of sections of that road have been sealed, but they haven't.
I haven't seen that request.
I think, sorry,
Oh,
it was the previous one around the potholes along the side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Yeah.
So,
Just
yeah.
a general thing, but they've written to us asking for us, and they just emailed for an update.
Yep, as soon as I've got a meaningful response, I'll absolutely share that.
Any further?
Yeah, I was just going to update you on the Banks Peninsula Coastal Visitors Panel that I'm on.
Oh, it would be really good to
It's just a really brief,
a
brief thing that they've been through and done some consultation. They haven't had enough feedback, so they're extending the deadline for the feedback and hope to get more feedback in. The process is going to actually take a lot longer. It's going to get up until May at least.
Well.
Yeah.
Any idea if we might, or a community might
They
be?
have not decided yet, and they're looking at feedback for the process, which is actually currently taking place from us. So, yeah, it's going to be hard. They're looking maybe at doing 2 at a time if they get additional funding in the LGP.
Yeah, we think of, given some recent news, it would be a heightened priority.
Yes, and the other thing that Jane Morgan actually said when she was speaking to me was that she's got a couple of items in the LTP that would be really good for us to support to actually try and get funding towards those. So,
yep.
Yeah, in regards to like monitoring and the additional coastal hazards being worked.
Cool. Thanks, Joe. All right, any further? Yeah.
Cool. Three quick things. One is it's the liaison group meeting tomorrow night for the Bromley, for the organics. And to acknowledge the Bromley Christmas function was really good at the Bromley Community Centre, but unfortunately they were stunk with the organic soda. And so this is probably about the 15th Christmas in a row, 14th. And at the last liaison group, it was really asked if we could get a real focus on dealing with the odours ahead of the holiday period, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So just encourage anyone to go. I don't know if the board's going to get briefed on what's happening as well around the organics, because I guess this board has been one of the biggest advocates for that community. The chair and deputy chair spoke really well at the council meeting, but it would be good for the board to actually get a briefing from staff over what's going on in terms of the interim solution. Second thing is I was concerned about the response around the Bromley transport plan. I've been told that there's no funding for the program to be developed, so it needs to be confirmed before they can present implementation milestones. And I don't know what, so apparently staff have now put it back into the LTP budget. So I'm just concerned that before there is current money on this financial year for that, and I'm concerned that the work continues.
If councillors could follow that up, then that would be good.
Is that in relation to the email I sent you earlier?
Yeah, that's right.
I sent you an additional one.
Oh, did you? Around Bromley?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Which shows 500 to 600,000 off the top of my head. I don't have the email in front of me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's good. So the Bromley thing's still going.
An updated update, I think.
Cool.
Okay, final.
Good to know.
Final.
Yeah, and the final one was I've had an email from a resident, which I think is really a fair call, which is raising concern around the number of consents that are being issued for intensive housing to be developed in Woolston without any sort of understanding around what we're doing to mitigate the impact of that intensification. So I know that the Sprayed and Cashmere board, sorry, it's what was it, the Sprayed and Cashmere Waimora board has asked council for something to be looked at. I think it would be really good for our board to also do the same, where we've got areas of intensification that seem to lack any sort of coordinated planning. And if you go down Rutherford Street and see the intensive housing that's been built and see the Wakakatahi painted cycle lane that is really narrow with the heavy vehicles going past and all the cars parking across it because the road markings are not wide enough on a state highway, it's kind of really frustrating. And I just wonder if there's a way that we can get some advice over how the board can get visibility of intensification within our board's area and what projects we should be putting forward to council to offset the collective impact or the cumulative impact of it. on things like transport and green space, because a lot of trees are also going down.
All right, thanks, Yanni. Well, with that, I will close our final community board meeting of the year. And again, thank you, everybody. It's been a really constructive year. As the test is always how we work with each other when we disagree. And the sport's been pretty good. And I also want to recognise staff. I know we've kept you to 10 to 7, and I'm sorry about that. I hope that you have a really good break. We're all still working until just before Christmas, but I hope that everybody takes some time out and actually does have a proper break. You and the staff will give above and beyond. I just want to recognise that, and thank you for it. Have a good one. Like to join me in the karaoke? Kia tau, te Māori, o te rangi, e tuki nei, o Aotearoa, e tapu nei, o te tāo, e āwhi nei, ki ora, e a tātou, tēnei, Māori ora.
Thank you, Paul. Good job.